This video will look at expanding equations using the distributive law. The distributive law states this, that A, for this equation, A in brackets B plus C is equal to AB, which means A times B, plus AC, so A times C. So essentially what it means is this. I'll use some numbers to give you an example. 5, 2 plus 3. If we were to solve this using BODMAS, what we would do first is we would add what's in the brackets first, 2 plus 3 meaning 5, and then we would do what's outside the brackets, 5 times 5, the answer would be equal to 25. What we can use using the distributive law, though, is knowing that we can also do this, and this will help us with algebra. 5 times the first term in the brackets and 5 times the second term will also give you the same answer. So 5 times by 2 in this case is 10. 5 times by 3 is 15. That also equals 25. So that is the distributive law working. And now we're going to show you with some algebraic equations. Let's now apply the distributive laws to these equations. So we need to, in the first equation, multiply everything outside the brackets by what's inside the brackets. So we'll be left with 5 times x and then 5 times by negative 2. So it's going to leave us with 5 times x is 5x. 5 times by negative 2 is negative 10. That's our answer expanded. Same thing for the next one. Everything outside the brackets by what's inside the brackets. So 6m times 2n, and that's going to be 6m times by negative 3. Excuse my small writing. So 6m times 2n, so 6 times 2 is 12. M times n, they're not like, you can't combine them. So it's left with m, n. That essentially means, I'm going to use a green dot here to show the multiplication symbol, 12 times by m times by n. But we don't need to actually write the multiplication symbol then. We can simply simplify that as 12mn. Then the next one, 6m times by 3, so that's 6 Mars bars times by negative 3, sorry, I should say. It is negative 3. So a positive times a negative ends up with a negative, so it's going to be negative 18m. So our answer is 12mn, take 18m. You cannot combine these terms any further because mn and m are different. These would have to be the same for you to be able to combine them further. Last one, same thing. Whatever's outside the brackets, multiply by what's inside the brackets. So it's going to be negative 5x times by x, and then negative 5x times by negative 4. So the first one, negative 5x, it's simply 1x. So negative 5 times 1 is going to be left with negative 5. And an x times an x, you're not adding them together, you're multiplying them. So x times by x, that ends up with a power, which is x squared. Something times by itself is its squared, so that's when it's an index. If there was x times x times x, that's 3 of them, it would be x cubed, for example. So this one, x times x, x squared. The next one, negative 5x times negative 4. Be careful because a negative times by a negative is equal to a positive. So we're going to be left with positive 20 lots of x. And yet again, because x squared and x are not like, you cannot combine this any further. So that is our answer of having those brackets expanded. Here are a couple more examples. The same rules apply though. using the distributive law. I'm going to do the one on the right first. We'll do the first bracket one first. So 2x times by 3y. So I'm going to do it a bit shorter this time. 2x times 3y. 2 times 3 is 6. X times y leaves us with xy. 2x times by 3 gives us 2 times 3 is 6. 6x. Over the other side, we have another part to our equation this time. So it's just simply a second step. 3x times by y is equal to 3 times by x times by y, which is 3xy. And then 3x times by positive 1 is positive 3x. In this case, you might see that now we have some terms that are like. So they have the same base, so we can add or subtract them. In this case, we're going to be able to add them. So you can see that we have 6xy and positive 3xy. So we can combine those like terms. 6xy plus 3xy is 9xy. We can combine them because they both have the base of xy. You can also see, hopefully, that we have positive 6x and positive 3x because they both have the base of just a single x. We can add them together. So 6x plus 3x is equal to positive 9x. So our answer there is 9xy plus 9x. That is both expanded and then simplified using our algebraic techniques. Let's now take a look at the one on the left. First step, 7y times by, that is an x, trust me, that's an x, is 7 times by x times by y. I like to get in the habit of writing them out in alphabetical order, so if we find like terms later on, it will help us out to simplify it. 7y times by negative 2y. So 7 times by negative 2 is negative 14. Positive times a negative is a negative. Y times by y, that's an example of timesing something by itself. So it's not 2y, it is y squared. So something times itself is squared. We're done with the first set of brackets now. So we'll move on to the second set of brackets. Y squared times by x. So that's one lot of y squared times one lot of x. So the things are going to stay the same with 1. We don't need to show the 1. Both positive. So it is actually going to be equal to, you could say y squared times x or y squared x. I like to put things in alphabetical order though. So I'm going to do x, y squared. So that is essentially, I'll show you again, x times by y squared with that little green dot. Same as that is 7 times by x times by y, and that is 14 times by y squared. The last one, y squared times by 5. That's going to leave us with, and it's positive, 5 lots of y squared, or 5 times by y squared. Hopefully you'll notice that there are some like terms, so don't be confused in this case with some of the terms that might seem like. They must have the exact same base. Y squared and y squared are exactly the same. So negative 14y squared and 5y squared are like terms. They can be combined. Be careful though, because negative 7xy and xy squared are not the same. That base is just xy, that base is xy squared, so we cannot combine those. So we can leave the first term as the same, 7xy. Negative 14 plus 5, so negative 14y squared plus y, 5y squared, so that's negative 14 plus 5, leaves us at negative 9, and that is negative 9 of y squared. There was another like term for the xy squared, so we can simply add that on the end. So the answer is 7xy, take 9y squared plus xy squared. So just be careful. When the equations get a little harder, the distributive law is still the same. Multiply whatever is outside the brackets by the first term and then times the second term. I guess the key points are to remember would be your positive and negative operations, and be careful with which are like terms when you are simplifying at the end. If you have any questions throughout, trying to work through what we're doing today, make sure you come and see me.